And speaking of unfair, why don't we move on to the treatment Kobe has been getting the last couple of days and what your thoughts are on that. Henry Abbott had a big article kind of blaming Kobe for much of the Lakers' woes right now. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Well, first of all, I think that Kobe Bryant, for who he's been in the NBA, deserves just a smidge more respect than this. I think a lot, But I also don't think it's a new story, Nick. I don't think it's all that new. We know that free agents have wanted to avoid Kobe. I know a story of when Dwight Howard did his free agent visit with the Lakers, and Kobe and Nash told Mitch, let us take it. We're going to sit and talk to him at first. They got private with Dwight, and Dwight proceeded to rip the two of them for disrespectful treatment of him publicly and privately while he was with the Lakers, and pretty much looked at them and said, and you guys here are the two they sent in to appeal to me to stay? So this is not a new story with Kobe. Kobe turns guys off. Kobe's tough on guys. You have to understand Kobe and get Kobe for that to work. And they're also, this is going to sound bizarre, becomes a little bit of a generational difference, Nick, too. Kobe's 36 years old. Kobe, he's an older player right now, and no one wants to necessarily have to live under that reign, especially if you think that you may be better than Kobe. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this is true, but also you have to understand where the Lakers are in this. The Lakers have this enormous TV deal with Time Warner. It pays the bills. If you're not rolling a star player out on the floor, you're hurting Time Warner and you're hurting your ability to get another deal down the line. Time Warner is their partner in a big, bad way, and they have to feed the beast that way. Having Kobe Bryant on the court puts eyeballs on the court. There's no two ways about it. I mean, you've heard buzzes here in the offseason about, the Knicks may be interested in Kobe Bryant. Would the Lakers do it? No. The Lakers won't do it. They need to have a star on the floor. They don't have a second star. So for the Lakers, as much as you want to be critical of them and Kobe, and a lot of the stuff is true, a lot of the stuff, the way he turns off guys is true, the Lakers don't have a choice. This is a lifetime Laker, the guy that's been with you from the very beginning. You've won 5 titles with him. You're not going to cut him loose right now. He's a Laker icon. I think a lot of this, and I understand, listen, Henry Abbott's not pulling this stuff out of left field. He is truly speaking to people. He's as credible a guy as there is. But again, it's just not a new story, Nick. Right. The fact is, Kobe's been turning people off for a long time, but the Lakers, for them, turning the page on Kobe Bryant, until they bring in another superstar for the mantle to pass from Kobe to that superstar, that's just not going to happen.
Well, here's the thing, and I went all night last night in the most long-winded Twitter conversation of all time about this.
I know all about those.
And here's the thing. It's not that they're going to move him, because you're right, they can't move him. It's that you would think at this point of his career, he needs to have a little humility and understand he's not that same player that can demand that kind of focus of an offense and needs the help. And because he sort of refuses to embrace that notion and say, you know what, maybe we need to have Dwight here and I should figure out a way where we can get along. Instead, he's like, no, I am who I am and he has to change. That is the issue I have, because he's not that 28-year-old in his prime superstar that he used to be. And as a result, the Lakers are in this predicament because, A, he did take all that money, whereas a guy like, I hate to use the Tim Duncan card, but Tim Duncan is a guy who said, no, we want to make this this culture, we want to keep it in place. I will take less money so we can keep everyone else happy. Meanwhile, Kobe didn't do that. And you know what? It's not his prerogative to say, give me less money. I understand that. But there is precedent in other places. But that's what I think I would like to see. Just a guy who kind of understands the reality of the situation of who he is and where he is now. It doesn't seem like he's willing to accept that.
I'm going to take a competing philosophy for a minute, because the last time Kobe Bryant was a healthy player in this league, he was top 10 player in the league. Now, injuries have taken a major toll on him. Major toll. So we can surmise that he won't be the same guy. I agree with you. I don't think he'll be the same guy. I still think he can be very effective and a top 20 player in a league, top 25 player in a league, but not the guy that he was. Nonetheless, though, we haven't seen him go be that lesser guy yet. So I see where his ego is, in that I'm this till I'm not anymore, okay? But by the same token, the question, you brought up an interesting topic, which is the salary and the contract. I had a conversation a few months back with, I have many partners on NBA radio. One of them is the Pacers radio play-by-play guy, Mark Boyle, who made an amazing point to me that I keep repeating all the time when I go on different shows, because I think it's that relevant. When you talk about guys taking less, Carmelo Anthony took a mountain of heat for not taking less money than what the Knicks could give him. In the end, he took a little bit less, but it was a token amount less. Took less than $1 million a year less over a 5-year period. I mean, he didn't take a lot less money. So from that standpoint, he really took just about everything he could get. But when you take less money, you don't take less just to take less. You take less to invest back in the program. The money that you're foregoing goes back into your program to make the program better. You have to have a program that the players believe is worth investing in. So when you look at Tim Duncan, who did it, well, that's an NBA champion. That program is worth investing in. Dirk Nowitzki just went from a $22 million a year salary to $8 million. That's a program. He's been there his whole career. He's got confidence in Mark Cuban and Donnie Nelson and Rick Carlisle. He invested back in the program. Even Dwayne Wade opted out of 2 years and $40 million for 2 years and $32 million. It took $4 million less a year, investing back in Pat Riley's program with the Heat and Eric Spoelstra's. What program is Carmelo investing back in? Phil Jackson was there for 3 months when they're negotiating this deal. There's no program for him to invest back. He shouldn't have taken less. Kobe is an interesting case here because you won titles, okay? And now they've turned over the whole team. No one else is there that you won with. Do you invest back in the program? Kobe chose not to invest back in the program, and that tells me one thing. That tells me that Kobe here is not expecting to win in these next 2 years. If Kobe was expecting to put a championship contender on the floor, he wouldn't have taken 2 years at $49 million. He would have taken 2 years at $39 million and given them a little more money to work with. Even though they're willing to be a tax-paying team, he would have given them a little bit more money to work with to be able to do that if he believed they were going to win a title. Kobe's content to be a lifetime Laker and play this thing out as the man. And with 5 rings under his belt, at this stage of the game, that's a lot more important to him. I tell you what could make this whole thing a little bit interesting for Kobe next year, depending upon what happens. If Tim Duncan repeats this year and now has 6 titles, you wonder if Kobe's attitude changes a little bit. You wonder if the lifetime Laker thing starts to change. And hey, wait a second, now there's a guy in my era that actually won more than I did. Do I want to see if we can change how we're doing things and go get another one? So that's what the question with Kobe. His lack of a willingness to invest back in the program. And you know, a lot of that has to do with the coaching turnover. They have not handled the head coach position all that well since Phil Jackson decided to retire as a head coach.
You know, when you go to the movies and you see a really good movie, there's a character arc, and the characters change, and they realize who they are or something about them. And I guess I'm waiting for that moment to happen here, where he can do that because, okay, Dwight Howard's not the easiest teammate to be with either, let's say, right? He screws around, he farts, he does all that stuff, and maybe doesn't play as hard as Kobe likes him to do.
I fart too, by the way, Nick.
Yeah, I think we all do. I think there's a book about that. And so, you know, but the point is that, okay, you have a teammate you're not getting along with, but you recognize that you can't argue with the talent he has. You're supposed to be able to sit down and figure that out. And you're supposed to figure out, what can I do? How can I move towards him? How can he move towards me? And maybe even in his position, at being a little bit longer in the tooth, he could have been the elder statesman to do that. And it just kind of rubs me the wrong way, that whole interaction, because, you know, Dwight Howard being in L.A., I mean, he got ripped to shreds, no mercy. Yet here's a guy that came back early off of major back surgery,
Yes.
had a torn labrum, and, you know, now they're trying to say that he came back because he just wanted to be adored by the fans, and that's why he came back early. And I'm like, well, listen, the guy played in a lot of pain, could barely move. That should count for something towards the team. You know,
I totally agree.
You know, that to me is a team. He's trying to be a team player and try and live up to what they brought into him. And then he's got, you know, then he had a legitimate gripe about how they hung out to dry a couple times in the media publicly. You know, and I think we're both on the same page. It's pretty clear. I don't know if people want to argue, but it seems pretty clear that, yeah, none of these top star free agents want to go play with Kobe no matter what.
That's correct. None of them want to play with Kobe. Playing with Kobe's not easy. And look at Kobe through the course of his career. So he won 3 titles with Shaq. Did they get along? Was it peas and carrots? 2 of these guys, this alpha dog competing, in the end, maybe undermined the Lakers winning more. So that was certainly a big hassle. Kobe had a problem then. Then Kobe won 2 more titles where he was, granted, he was in his prime, but it was Kobe as the lead dog with the right supporting cast around him. But there was never any question, Nick, as to who was the man there. It was Kobe was in charge. So Kobe, from the time he entered the league till now, he's never changed. Kobe's been consistent. The problem is, and you so articulately alluded to it before, the fact of the matter is Kobe may not be a lead dog anymore, still thinks of himself as a lead dog. Do you want to go be the guy that's got to essentially be what Rondo ended up with the big three with Boston, where you're the best player on the team, but you're subjugated to a lesser status than that through the team's hierarchy because you're dealing with egos of veterans that aren't what they once were. That's a hard situation to be in. Guys are kind of turned off to that situation. And it's funny, there's a lot of ridicule for Dwight Howard, you know, from a fan standpoint, not as much around the league, from a fan standpoint about what happened in LA. And yes, the screwing around's a little bit too much. Yes, walking around a locker room waving a stat sheet about your shot attempts is bad form and a bad way to go. But the reality is, and this was the big thing with Dwight there, they fired Mike Brown 5 games into a season, which was ridiculous on so many different fronts. But when you're going to make your new coaching hire, you have Kobe Bryant under contract for that year and 1 more. You have Steve Nash under contract for 3 full years, and Dwight Howard is your best player and a free agent. Who do you want to hire a coach to please? Forgetting about the fact with Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was never going to happen there. The Lakers ownership didn't want it for a variety of reasons. It wasn't happening. Okay, but the decision that you're going to make here in terms of hiring a coach is not to please Kobe and Nash. It's not to make Kobe and Nash happy. They're stuck under contract with you. It's the guy that could leave, who's your best player. You'd like to make a coaching hire that he's got something to do with, that he's comfortable with. They did not do that. And that, above everything else from what I heard, turned Dwight off the most. That would put, if they're not going to do something and involve me in this process with hiring a head coach at a time when I can leave, well, once I sign on the dotted line for 5 years, I don't have any leverage left. So from that standpoint, Dwight understood he was never going to have the power within the organization that he felt as the best player that he deserved. He was always going to be under Kobe's reign. And that's a little bit of an organizational dysfunction with the Lakers, but I don't think that's changing anytime soon, Nick.
Right, and here's the thing. If he's in his prime, like Kobe was, he could sort of behave that way. They were winning, they were doing well. But here they are. He is not the same player. I've been watching him pretty carefully in the preseason. He's going to shoot 41% from the field. And he might get into the 20s, but it's going to be really inefficient. He's not moving nearly as well as he used to. So this is the problem. It's that, you know, you can be that way and you can act any way you like when you merit it in your performance. But it's not going to be that way anymore, and that's where they are. Here they are. They've now lost the opportunity to have, you know, what you think about Dwight Howard is up to you, but he is a top 2 center in the league, top 3 center in the league. And they don't have him anymore when they could have had him, and that's the issue. And so now, how long do you think it's going to take for the Lakers to get anywhere near back to top 3 in the Western Conference?
Well, I think it's going to be hard because, first of all, I don't like how they approach this offseason at all. They needed to embrace the fact that you had to turn the page on the Kobe era with Kobe. So what I would have done if I were the Lakers is chasing LeBron James in the end is not a great personnel strategy. It just isn't. I understand it worked for the Cavs. Well, you happen to be the city that's closest to where he grew up and he wanted to come home. For the Heat, you had Dwayne Wade and Pat Riley, and yes, it was a worthwhile shot for you because you already had Bosh and Toe anyway. For everybody else, chasing LeBron is a great way to be bad for a longer amount of time. So you look at the Lakers chasing LeBron, chasing Carmelo, star chasing. Look, Dallas, look at what Dallas is going to do this year. Dallas is going to be a better team this year because they decided after 2 years of star chasing and failing on Darren Williams and failing on Dwight Howard, we've had enough. We've had enough, and we're going to go build a team around the star that we have. The Lakers should have done that. If I were Mitch Kupchak at 12:01 on July 1st, I would have been knocking on Kyle Lowry's door and say, what's it going to take? 4 years, $50 million? Done, Kyle. Come here and play next to Kobe. You're going to take the ball out of Kobe's hands a little bit. You're going to extend Kobe's career. Second guy I would have knocked on his door, and I understand a lot of people don't like his style, Lance Stevenson. What's it going to be? 4 years and 40 will get you? Good, come. And I'm going to say, all right, here are these 2 really athletic guys. We're going to take Kobe off the griddle a little bit. We have Julius Randle on board. Let's see what we can be this year. Maybe we don't make the playoffs, but we get a little bit better. We have a couple of young, long-term pieces in place, and we're willing to pay the luxury tax. Let's see how we can build around this. And maybe, just maybe, these guys learn a little bit of something from Kobe. They're not guys that are going to try to take alpha dog from Kobe. They're not going to try to do that. But they're good young players. You sign them long-term, and you got a base to start off of. The star chasing, the Lakers need to get over themselves a little bit. Forget about the fact that we're the Lakers, we're Hollywood, we have all this history. build a basketball team. And you can do it around Kobe. Even at these numbers, you can do it around Kobe. If you're smart and strategic, the star chasing's an absolute killer for them. And, you know, look at what they did this offseason here. All the reloads with the one-year deals, and we want to make sure that we have all the cap space again for next year. You may see a similar scenario next year where no one wants to come play with Kobe again. The Lakers are on one-year deals all over again. And until they philosophically change how they do things, I think Laker basketball is going to be pretty miserable here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and I think that no matter what people in the league feel about Dwight, I think a lot of those stars looked at that situation and been like, forget it, I'm not going to do that. And that covers you for years, right? Kevin Durant, LeBron, Melo. I can't think of the young stars. I mean, I can't picture anyone like Lillard or those guys wanting to jump there either. Kevin Love is probably going to be done in Cleveland. He'll stay with LeBron. So it seems like that is really the issue here. Is it's kind of like a doomed scenario for a while without Jerry Buss there, which I suppose we're going to realize how important he was.
Yes.
Without him there, it's a problem, and I wonder how much control Mitch Kupchak even has at this point.
Well, I think Mitch has some control here. I do, and I think Jim's running the show, and I think in a lot of ways Jim has taken a bullet for some of his father's decisions at the end that haven't been all that popular with fans. So I get that. So, but I'll also say this: there's been a sea change in who the Lakers are in the NBA. The Lakers were never a team that lost star free agents. They were the team that star free agents went to. Dwight Howard left. And again, as you said, Nick, whatever you think about Dwight Howard leaving altered the perception of who the LA Lakers are in this era right now. And how are the Lakers going to get that back? Well, there's two ways. You can either go find yourself a star that wants to come to your team. It's possible. It's not easy. And in this day and age, you need a star to get a star. And as you just said, as in terms of what today's NBA, Kobe Bryant's probably not a star anymore. He's one of the biggest stars we'll ever see in the history of basketball. But right now, at this age, with all the games on the odometer, he probably just doesn't play like a star anymore. So if you're not going to be able to go have a star to get a star, you have to build a team that stars want to come to. And until they figure that out, the Lakers have always done the quick fix routine. And they're a little spoiled with Jerry West, who was able to reload pretty quickly after the Magic Johnson era by getting Shaq as a free agent and trading for Kobe as an 18-year-old. So that's really hard to replicate. It's virtually impossible to replicate. Right. So you're going to have to build a team.
Yeah, I mean, he did it with Kwame Brown and Pau Gasol later. But you're right. The last time the Lakers, I think, drafted somebody that was really impactful, I believe they drafted Worthy or Byron Scott. It was one of those two they drafted, right?
That's it.
And that was the last.
Anybody else, really?
Yeah. Now, Randall could be that guy, too. He's a double-double guy, I'm sure, in his future. But, it's going to be interesting. Now, to quickly transpose to the lottery, because they have their pick, but it's top 5 protected, right? So the Lakers, if they fall out of the top 5, do not keep their first-round pick in the summer of 2015, correct?
Correct.
So
Correct.
It seems clear to me that they're going to have a legitimate shot at the top 5 pick, though, right?
They might. It depends. I'll tell you what's strange about what they did in the offseason. So to me, the most important person on this team is Julius Randle. You want Randle to develop properly. You want Randle to get confident. You want him to – he's got a diverse skill set anyway, but you want him to develop everything. He's a nice secondary ball handler. You need him to develop his perimeter shot a little bit more to be able to be better in today's NBA. His defense needs to get a little bit better, but it's all the tools are there for Randle. So if Randle's development is the most important thing in your organization, you go ahead and you bring in Carlos Boozer. Carlos Boozer functions on this team as a crutch for Byron Scott to play Boozer more than Randle and not live through Randle's growing pains. It's a big problem. I don't have an issue with Ed Davis in that spot at 2 years and $2 million at 24 years old. It's a great bargain, and I think he's a good young player that can help them a lot. Worthwhile risk. What's Boozer? Boozer's not part of your solution for the future. What do you have Carlos Boozer there? Point you make is that it's okay to be in a developmental year, even with Kobe. You didn't get any stars. Be bad. It's okay to be bad. You have Kobe for the TV network anyway, but the thing is, with guys like Boozer and a guy like Lynn, who I think is a decent player, I really do, you may be better than the top 5 team. You may be where you don't want to be, NBA purgatory, which is being in one of those teams that's in the bottom half of the lottery, not good enough to make the playoffs, but not bad enough to get yourself a star player. That's kind of where the Lakers trap themselves. And the danger, as you said, in trapping yourselves there, is that will keep you from having a first-round pick altogether this year because of the Nash deal. So they had every incentive to be as bad as they could possibly be. And no one would ever lean on them for tanking like the Sixers do because they have Kobe Bryant. And they're not doing it.
I feel like, they're trying to trace where Ebola started and all those things. I feel like we could trace where the beginning of this version of this issue with the Lakers is. And to me, it almost feels like it was when Ramon Sessions did not opt in for that last year and ran away to be a backup somewhere else for, like, $400,000 more money per year. That, to me, seemed like that triggered a whole lot of things. I think the Nash thing sort of happened right at the same time, but certainly that cascade of events is now where they are, what was led them to here.
That's exactly it. The Sessions thing was significant, and Henry Abbott referred to it in the piece as well. But again, I even think even then, you got Dwight Howard in a trade. You could have had Howard and Bryant there together and built something from that, and Pau Gasol, and you brought Nash in. There was a possibility to still be something and extend this thing. But the second that Howard pretty much turned around and said, I'm going to take less money to leave the vaunted Los Angeles Lakers, considered the most glorified franchise in the NBA, to go play in Houston for less money with James Harden, I think that took the gild off the lily for who the Lakers are. And in a lot of ways for who Kobe Bryant is. Because, no one wants to, again, you said it before, Dwight's not the most popular guy in the world, but no one wants to be Dwight in that spot. No one wants to go there and end up, being Kobe's whipping boy when Kobe's at a stage where you may be a better player than him. So that's kind of where so yes, as much as the Sessions thing may have started the ball downhill, the Dwight thing was the clear sea change in who the Lakers are.
And picture that lineup. You have Ramon Sessions, Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, Dwight Howard, and somebody else. That's actually a pretty good team. And Powell looks like he is, getting back to what his normal self was. I think that always struck me as very strange that he would have left a starting job on the table for him there. I mean, heck, you can go back to Jordan Farmar leaving when he did. I'm sure he would have thought he could have taken 36-year-old Derek Fisher's job that year. Instead, he went off to New Jersey for another backup job. It's just those are the little things that when they pop up, you kind of scratch your head and wonder what's happening. The Lakers should be the one team where people want to stay. And Jordan's from here. Heck, I coached the guy in high school. He didn't want to leave LA.
I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure, but this is the stuff that's happened here. They're not the attractive place to go play that they once were. And look at who they got this year. Guys that they either overpaid in Nick Young, or guys that were pretty much on a last-ditch effort to be able to go and give themselves another shot to reclaim their career, like a Boozer. Now, Lynn was traded there a little bit different. But, Jordan Hill had been there before, but they overpaid Jordan Hill. Jordan Hill wasn't getting that kind of money from anybody else. The Lakers have now become – they used to be the team that guys took less to play with. Now they're the team that has to overpay guys to come there to try to reclaim their careers.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. I think we're talking years. I think you have to get all these stars out of the league. Durant has to kind of get old and retire before they can kind of begin to attract free agents like they used to do, and that's a long, long time. And you know what? It could just be the natural ebb and flow of how the NBA works. Finally, it's caught up to the Lakers, who had been excellent for pretty much their entire existence. And so it's an interesting thing. We'll see.
Nick, here's the thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you. There's an express route out of this a little bit. Okay, you drafted a guy in Randall you have under your financial control for 4 years. Develop him. If you develop Randall into a star, now you have a star that other guys may want to come play with. So what are they doing? No, we got Boozer here. Come on.
I do think that, from what I understood, they were really shocked that their bid won for Boozer. Did you hear that?
I did, but why make a bid at all? That's either you want it or you don't. So if you're shocked that your bid won, why bid at all? I mean, you really need – how many power forwards do you need in this roster when your most important young player is a power forward?
I agree. Every year I've seen that, and from a lot of teams, they'll bring in guys like Kurt Thomas when they could find another young kid who's energetic, who could just develop and get a bunch of rebounds anyway. That stuff frustrates me to no end. And certainly my issues with Boozer have been well documented.
Yes, sir.
I hope he doesn't play more than, you're right, the 20 minutes a game, but we'll have to see. And I got to tell you, our 10 minutes are up.
It's been fun, though.
Yes,
we didn't
I
even get
know.
the lottery reform. We got to save that for next time.
Yeah, let's do it for next time because, this has been, as always, when we bring you on, we get the most in-depth, nuanced, subtle, detailed discussion of the NBA.
It's a nice way of saying you can't shut me up.
Right. Well, listen, I don't want to shut you up, and I hope that the Sirius XM guys stop shutting you up and let you go even longer than you are now because sports fans, if you're not listening, get on the Sirius XM and find you. Brian, do you have a regular pattern?
I do. I am every Sunday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, every Saturday morning, 7 to 10 Eastern Time. And I'll do sporadic spots throughout the week, but those aren't set. So, for example, tomorrow I'm going to be doing middays 12 to 3 with Tom Byrne. That's Eastern Time. So you'll be able to get me there on the West Coast, 9 to noon. So I'll be on tomorrow if you feel like listening for 3 hours.